Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. Today we're talking wide receivers. In the last couple episodes, we've gone through our top, 15 quarterbacks, top 20 running backs. We're going to do top 15 wide receivers today. Got Jeff's list, my list. We combine them to give our own top 15, but I'll let you know when we go through where each of us actually has each of these players. This is basically half point PPR kind of. We just like to cut it down the middle. We're not gonna go too crazy. It's not really different for standard or PPR for us too much. A lot of these don't change a lot. If there is a difference, we'll let you know. But let's jump into this thing, Jeff. Number one, no question about it, it's Cooper Kupp, right? Easy. I don't think you even probably had no hesitation on that pick.
No, I don't think that he's going to repeat what he did last year, but he doesn't have to, and he could still be very safely in the top 5. He could repeat as number 1 very easily, doing what, just a version of that. So even though people will say he's not going to return to form, even so, he's still my number 1 pick off the board.
And I can see them. I don't think the numbers he put up last year are going to continue like that.
They were overall ridiculous.
So I was listening to another podcast earlier today, and one of the stats, JJ Zachary's podcast, which is a good show, and he mentioned the fact that the Rams, 80% of the Rams touchdowns last year were passing touchdowns, and that's just like way out of the ordinary, right? Like it just has to decrease. Like you don't have that year over year. And, he's probably right. It probably will go down a bit. And just that alone, Cooper Kupp gets a couple less touchdowns. He's not as dominant, but that doesn't matter. Like you said, worst case, he's top 5.
And he was so head and shoulders above everyone else. It shouldn't go away, honestly, because you have Allen Robinson. You have running backs that seem like they'll be fine, but I don't think are necessarily special. That's my opinion. But So I do think they're going to go to him a lot. And look, he had 191 targets. Like you can lose 40 targets and you're still fine.
He'll be good.
Yeah.
Number 2, we each had him number 2, Justin Jefferson. He's the consensus number 2. He's ADP number 2. So no surprises. He's just really good. He's been really good for 2 years, and I don't see why that would slow down. No indications that it will. Justin Jefferson should be safe bet up here without a doubt.
Yeah. I was gonna say we can just keep going. He's.
We'll get to the guys that are. Get to the guys that are a little more challenging.
I'm guessing. We'll see where our top 4 goes, but I think my top 4 is like a tier, and then it kind of gets interesting after that. We'll see if we actually link up with that. But
so our number 3, Jamar Chase.
Yeah,
each had him number 3. There isn't any surprises there, I would say. He's not as he's great, but he had a lot more games that weren't, a lot of games where he didn't help you. He had some up and down stuff. I think maybe because he was a rookie, right? I think he was
a rookie. He had a young quarterback. They're figuring it out, and
that'll level out a bit.
Yes, and 100. He had 128 targets, and I'm probably going to bring up targets a lot because you always want to make sure that they're going to get enough work. Yep. The really high end guys that we just talked about, like Justin Jefferson, was in the 160s. Cooper Kupp, that was pretty much. I think that might have been a record. I don't even know, but it's like 191.
Yeah.
That's absurd. That's usually high, but if you're up near the 140s and above, that's pretty elite. He has a little room to actually even grow into that. So that would be the only ding against him. He had a lot of big plays. Can he keep that up? That's always the question. But he's so young, so talented. I don't see any reason why this guy wouldn't slow down or will slow down.
Yeah, he has all the talent. He should be really good. Number 4 was Devontae Adams for both of us. And these top 4 are all consensus top 4 in Fantasy Pros consensus ranks, and they're the top 4 in ADP right now.
Okay.
So we're not differing from the consensus right now, but I don't think you really need to. This is what it is.
And I think this is where I would cut it off and say this is the tier 1. I have no doubts about any of these guys. Is there Devontae Adams going to a new team, not having Aaron Rodgers? Does that worry you? Was there thinking of yours that you were kind of like, oh, someone else could sneak up here? There was one where I was kind of like, oh, it's interesting, but I still would never put him above. But
So I think there's too many question marks everywhere to really drop Devontae too low. And I think Derek Carr is a good quarterback for him. So they have history together. Because of all that, I actually feel pretty comfortable with Devontae. I don't see why he doesn't get a bunch of targets from Derek Carr. I can see them getting, his targets are going to be there. He's going to be fine. That's my thought.
Yeah. I mean, you might take a hit on TDs, but I just don't think he'll return to like 2 years ago and he was like leading the league with 18, right? That's not going to happen, but he should still get in double digits. And that is all you need in order for him to be that top 5 guy.
Yep. Number 5 was CD Lamb. He's your 5th. He was my 6th. So it's the first time we differed on a thing. And this CD Lamb is jumping up because of the fact that there's no Amari Cooper anymore. And that really is helping him out. In his 2 years in the league, he was 20th and then 14th in fantasy. Really, good, solid start. 79 catches, 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns last year. And like we said, Amari Cooper's gone now. And he had 120 targets last year, 111 in his first season. Really good numbers, both of those. And one guy is gone who got a lot of targets, and everything else is the same. You would think a lot of those are going to go to CD Lamb now.
Yeah, he is the one guy where I can't put him above the other 4. They've all done it, but he is one that I feel like is primed. Like he's ready to be the superstar in Dallas. I think that it's only a matter of time. But I'd be super excited to get him, but he starts off tier 2 for me.
Yep. Yeah, he should be really good. I don't think we have too much to worry about there. And
he's not going to falter.
Yep. All right. Where am I going here? Number 6 is going to be Stefan Diggs. This is where we first have a little bit of a difference. He's my 5th. He's your 8th. I love Stefan Diggs. I've always loved Stefan Diggs. 164 targets last year, 166 targets the year before. I think the targets are still going to be there. The production wasn't as good last year, obviously, as the year before. He did have more touchdowns, but he had 24 less catches and over 300 less yards. So I'm guessing that's why you're a little further down on him. He dropped quite a bit, but
I mean, I put him at 8th, right? But that is the thing. Like, there's no disrespect towards Diggs. He's amazing. He's great with Allen. The thing is, the Bills are really built up. They have a million people to throw to. So I just feel like they're, anytime you see that, why go to one guy over and over again? Like, other guys are going to be wide open. So I see him kind of repeating what he did last year. Phenomenal numbers, be in the top 10, but his upside is a little bit capped because they have so many weapons. I could be proven wrong on that. Maybe him and Allen have just a special, connection, but, Knox was hurt. Gabriel Davis, they believe, is coming up. They, drafted a pass catcher coming out of the backfield. All that doesn't necessarily mean he won't be good. I just think that they don't need him to be as good. So I just expect his numbers to be what they were last year and not go back to 2 years ago.
Yeah, they do have some guys throw the ball around too. Gabe Davis, like you said, Knox. And Jamison Crowder. I'll keep bringing him up.
And Jamison Crowder, which
Jamison Crowder really is so underrated.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I mean, I'm not like advocating everyone go get Jamison Crowder.
I like. I was like, so overrated this year. Like,
he is so underrated this year. It's crazy to me. It's still like when I look at Jamison Crowder, I guess I can bring him up here. He's 68 yet. Jeez, he needs to be better than that. But hey, all right, let's go to number 7. We had a tie here between our for 7th and 8th place. So let's talk about first one is Deebo Samuel, your 6th, my 8th. Not too much of a difference. I guess my only hesitation is who's his quarterback. How's that going to play out? Is it Trey Lance? Is it Jimmy Garoppolo? Yeah. Who knows? That's really it. And can they really, what we saw last year, can that continue? Can that running? He was getting so many touchdowns that were just relatively long rushing touchdowns. Like, is this an anomaly? Can this continue? Is this who this guy is? I don't know. I'm just not sure with Deebo, but if this could be underrating him if he plays like he did.
Yeah. He's an interesting one because I'm probably not going to get him because I think that he'll probably be ranked higher. I mean, who knows? Maybe 6 isn't all that low for him.
So let's say right now, Deebo is currently 7th in consensus, but 6th in ADP.
Oh, wow. Okay. I thought I was gonna be low on him because, and honestly, it was one of those where everyone else kind of has a question mark above him. And Stefan Diggs is safer. I will say that. I just think that Debo's team needs him really. They just need him a ton more. So even though I don't think he wants to run the ball, I don't think that he can keep up that like touchdown percentage of how many times he touches it and how often he gets into the end zone. I don't like Trey Lance for his first year. A lot to go against him, but the guy gets used a ton. He is by far the number one, weapon on that team. So I have a hard time putting him too much lower than where I had him. Even though I would like to. I just don't see any way around it. I feel like I'm just betting against him for the sake of it. But yeah, anyway, he goes 6th right now. We'll see what happens in the off season. Maybe I will put him below a few. I feel like the top 10 are all really good, but I could never put him below 10th. I already know that.
Yep. So Debo was number 2 receiver weeks 10 through 18 last year. So
yeah, he was phenomenal, but
number 8 for us is actually both of our number 7. So I guess it's tied for 7 here. Mike Evans. I guess every year we want to like think that the downfall of Evans is going to happen, and it really hasn't. And this is probably the highest we've ranked him in years. But I mean, there are a lot of factors, I guess, with that. Chris Godwin's hurt. We don't know when he's going to be back. Antonio Brown's not there. Gronk retired. I mean, yeah, the second receiver is Russell Gage at this point. I think they still have Cameron Brate at tight end. OJ Howard is gone as well. He just has to catch the ball, right? Like it's going to go to Evans. You'd have to think he's going to be that red zone target. So I just think a good year, and he's just always consistent. He's not going to like his numbers. It's like 70 catches, 1,000 yards. He's done that so many times now. That's like what he does. But he gets double-digit touchdowns, and that's the key is the touchdowns. But he's just so consistent. 100+ targets, 70 catches, 100,000 yards at least. Yeah.
You have Brady coming back, who has been incredibly accurate still.
It's simple.
Yeah.
Yep. He's just solid. All right. Number 9, 10. We have a tie here as well. Let's go with Tyreek Hill first. He's my 9th here, 10th. The question marks here is just that he's on a new team, new quarterback. It's not Patrick Mahomes. It's Tua. We don't really know what to think with that. And Tyreek has been streaky in the past with Patrick Mahomes even. What's going to happen here? He does have a good number 2, though, helping him out, Jalen Waddle. So it's just an unknown. It's complete unknown. And Devontae Adams is, I guess, an unknown too, but I feel much more comfortable with Derek Carr than I do with Tua. And that's really the key here.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So that's why Tyreek drops to this spot for me. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, Tyreek is an unbelievable athlete, and he is part of the top 10 I was talking about, and then we hit the third tier. And the other guy we're going to be talking about is AJ Brown, correct? Okay, good. So I had AJ Brown, then I had Tyreek. For the exact reasons. They both have question marks. They're both going to new teams. Neither of the quarterbacks have really, established themselves quite yet. The only difference is there is a lot more kind of tools in the toolbox for, more weapons. And I feel like Tua has done less to show me that he could produce enough to feed all the mouths around him. And I think AJ Brown is going to be the clear cut number 1. Like, we're going to give him 150 targets and we're going to force feed him the ball. That's the only reason I feel better about AJ. And they both have huge upside as far as playmaking ability. Tyreek is one of the fastest humans on earth. But if I had to pick, I'm thinking AJ Brown will be a little more consistent. And this is coming from someone who thinks both of these guys will probably be a little more up and down this year. And hence why they fill out the top 10 rather than everyone else coming before him. But I'm huge upside.
I don't know what to think about AJ Brown. I don't even want him number 10, but I looked at the rest of the guys and there's just question marks everywhere.
Yes,
there is. And because of that, he just becomes my number 10 based on ability, even though I'm just not, I don't like it. So this is a weird thing about this year in wide receivers. I don't feel comfortable in this like 10 through whatever range, 10 through a little bit here. These are guys I don't mind. I like, these guys are fine, but I feel like I'm like, man, I wish I would like this guy a lot better if he was ranked 22nd. And, but there's just not those guys this year. It's just fallen off. It's fallen down a little bit. And I'm not sure what to think.
I mean, they do have comparatively to where they were, but I do think that, and here, Tyreek's situation was better before, right? Do you think AJ Brown's situation is any worse, really?
I think it's similar, but I don't think AJ Brown, he didn't have a great year though last year. He wasn't.
Well, he was also banged. He was hurt.
But what is he? We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, AJ Brown. Yeah, I just think that Tyreek going from KC, one of them, and Mahomes to Tua and Dolphins, no matter what he says about Tua, I just think that situation is going to be like, it's just going to be a rough go of it at times. When you're playing a good defense, I think that you can't take away Tyreek, but if Tua is not as accurate as Tyreek claims he is, then he's going to have a hard time getting the ball. Like they can throw it to a bunch of guys. And the same thing with Waddle. I love Waddle. I think he's one of the best young wide receivers out there at the moment. And I still have him up relatively high because I believe that the talent is there. But if Tua doesn't come out and show up, I'm going to be wrong on both of these guys. And that worries me.
Yeah, we'll see. AJ Brown is 10th in consensus. These are the top 10 consensus, what we have right now. We're not too far off right now. I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair. Like those 10 feel like very solid. After this, I think it can go pretty haywire. And I know mine, there's a couple of guys that I have relatively high comparatively. So we'll see. I like to look at other people's rank just to see if we're way off from them. Mm-hmm. And so I look at some on Fantasy Pros, and I looked up the Fantasy Footballers, another well-known podcast.
Yeah.
They have AJ Brown in their consensus between the three of them as 18th.
AJ Brown, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, Mike on the Fantasy Footballers has him 25th.
Oh, I can't in good conscience, I can't imagine picking 24 people before him. There's just no.
I can't either. Let's
that's just, that's way too, that's a hate pick right there.
I got some more from them in a minute that I found. I'll tell you about.
I was going to say, like in top 18, like if you really think that's going to suck, like, okay, but 25, no.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that listen to them. So we might be able to clean up on some picks this year. So I don't feel bad.
I would love to get AJ Brown as a number 2. I could do that.
Number 11 for us is actually Deonte Johnson, even though he was the number 12 for both of us. He just jumps up to 11. But there's unknowns here too. I like the player, but I don't know the situation of the quarterback. And that's another thing where you think the target should be there. And that's what I think both of us are banking on, that the targets are still going to be there in a good amount.
And that's someone has to be the primary wide receiver on that team. And he has been for the last couple of years. Last year, he had a ridiculous amount of targets. He was very productive, even though Ben was, he was winding down as a quarterback. Do I trust Trubisky? No, I don't. Do I trust a rookie? No, I don't. But I do think that he will get enough to make him a safe pick. And it's kind of funny that with all of that I just said, we still have him consensus number 11. Which just shows you the big step down from number 10. Like we can argue AJ Brown and Tyreek, but as soon as you start like tweaking all of these guys, like you're either taking a really safe guy that doesn't have nearly the upside, or you're taking that risk. There's no doubt about it.
All right, let's go to number 12, Keenan Allen. He's your 14th, my 11th. This just feels safe, right? That's where we're at with Keenan Allen.
He's a safe.
So this is where I wanted to bring up the footballers again, just because when I was looking at their ranks, I just found some interesting stuff. I'm like, are we off, or is there something we're not seeing? So they had Keenan Allen. Okay, it's not too far off, right? But they had Keenan Allen ranked 14th. Overall, one of them had him 10th, one 15th, one 21st. But here's the part where I'm like, whoa, Mike Williams. They had Mike Williams consensus number 9. All of them had Mike Williams in the top 10.
I mean, that feels like in the top 10?
Yeah.
Okay, that feels like a stretch to me. And I like Mike Williams, but he's had the opportunity. It's not like this will be his first go around. So either it was health or concentration errors, or, just not being the like week to week guy, which I think you kind of have to be if you're going to be in that top 10. Like that's how you have to think of him. Talent wise, he absolutely could be in the top 10. But why? I don't know. Why hasn't he shown a little bit more? He started last year great, right? He was awesome first 5 weeks of the season. But after that, he went on a run here. So I'll just say Mike Williams, if I pull up, he's our 23rd actually overall. You're 20th, my 23rd. So Mike Williams had a stretch there where he was starting week 6, 2 for 27, then 2 for 19, 2 for 58, 4 for 33, 5 for 97 and a touchdown solid. Then a 4 for 39. Then he bounced back with a 5 for 110, but then 6 for 61, 3 for 49, 3 for 63, but he did get a touchdown.
And then he ended the year on a good note, 9 for 119 and a touchdown. There was way too many weeks where he was not helping you. And I mean, at this point, he was helping you for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll give him 6, 7, maybe not quite half of the weeks of the season. The other half, he was not good for you. So yeah. Keenan Allen just seems safer, but Mike Williams is going to take away some of that. I do get that, but I don't. It's a little much for Mike Williams there.
Yeah, but I honestly, after he might be a little bit low in ours, but I don't think I wouldn't put him in the top 10. Well, I understand the reasoning behind it, but
after his big start, weeks 1 through 5, he was wide receiver 29, weeks 6 through 17.
And that's the hard part. Like, which one are you banking on, right? And after it's kind of he's kind of like the wide receiver version of Zeke, where Zeke's numbers and where he ended up as like the 6th best running back. Actually, it's more of staying healthy and having a few big weeks rather than being helpful to your fantasy team. That's kind of how I feel about Mike.
In those same weeks, Keenan Allen was wide receiver 15 weeks through 6 through 17. So I just feel like he's going to be around. He's going to be safe for you. You get Keenan Allen, you're getting top 15 pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah, you get a lot of targets, but he's never going to be a huge touchdown guy. And we all think Herbert is going to go and he's going to do really good things, but you have Eckler who soaks up a lot. So yeah, I think you'll be much more maintaining course this year rather than Mike Williams breaking out, but that'd be great if he did.
So next guy is Terry McLaurin at 13 for us. He's my 15th, your 11th. We're actually a little higher consensus wise. He's 17th. I think part of it is, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I believe in Carson Wentz a little more than the public does. I'm just not fully done with him. I know he had some bad moments, but I feel like he can have bad moments in just real life football and, can struggle at times, but he did lead the Colts. The Colts were pretty decent for most of the year. I would say they weren't a bad team always. He did decent. He has his struggles, but for the most part, for fantasy wise, I'm not worried about that. He's going to do enough good for Terry McLaurin. And it's just a much better situation than what Terry McLaurin was dealing with last year. Taylor Heineke was a good story, but he's not necessarily a good quarterback.
Yeah, so that's my big one too. Like, yeah. I hope he kind of returns to where he wants to be, where everyone wants to see him as a quarterback. But even if he was just what he did last year, which I think he'll be a little bit better, but even if it was around there, McLaurin is a really talented wide receiver. And I always downgraded him when everyone was kind of pushing him up. And I feel like this is everyone like downgrading him because of that, because he burnt them last year, because everyone had him in like the top 10. And I always said it wasn't the talent. The talent is there. Mm-hmm. He is a very phenomenal football player, but I didn't like the situation and they weren't going to be able to score enough. They weren't, he wasn't going to get the reps other top 10 wide receivers were going to. I think this year he actually could. And I think that he is, he's not going to be a top 10 guy for me, but he is so close to that because, I mean, the last couple of years, the last 134 targets and 130, turned it into 87 receptions, 77, 1,100 yards, 1,000 yards, and then 4 and 5 touchdowns. The touchdowns just weren't there before. I do think that they've done a lot of good things. I do think they'll score more. I think he can get in the end zone more. That'll rocket him up. And being 17th going to, 12th is just very, very, relatively easy if you amp those touchdowns up. I honestly think that his target share will go up this year too. I think he should be more around 140, 150 because he's so talented. And they added a few guys. So hopefully they won't be able to key on him. But even last year, he was able to get open. He really is phenomenal. I think Wentz and him will be a good pair.
Definitely. All right, number 14, Michael Pittman Jr., your 16th, my 13th. He gets Matt Ryan this year. I don't really know if we just talked about Carson Wentz. I don't really know if it's really a major upgrade from that. I honestly don't at this point in Matt Ryan's career. I think it's pretty relatively lateral move. But Michael Pittman, it's not just that. It's not the quarterback situation, but at least it's not worse. He just made a big jump from his first year to his second year that I can see it continuing. That's part of like the normal rookie or the normal receiver progression. And then year 3 can even be a bigger breakout. But he went from year 1 with 61 targets, 40 catches, 500 yards and a touchdown to year 2, 129 targets, 88 catches, 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. You just see the increase and you loved it. I just love to see that. The only issue I could have here is touchdowns. And it seems like it's a Jonathan Taylor thing for the Colts. And he's going to eat up so many touchdowns. You're not going to get those like touchdowns from the 2-yard line that other receivers might.
Yeah.
They're going to go to Jonathan Taylor. That could hinder him a little bit. But he made a big jump. He was solid. Again, no sure thing here. None of these are sure things at this point. He disappeared in games. He had, like I talked about Mike Williams, but Michael Pittman had a few of those. He had a 2 for 23, a 1 for 7. But for the most part, he had a 2 for 35 as well. Michael Pittman was getting you 6 for 60, 6 for 48 for 80, 6 for 70. So his worst games were usually those. He had less bad weeks than Mike Williams did, if you're going to compare him to that. Mm-hmm. But, I like the player. He made a big jump in year 2, and I think we're going to keep seeing that go.
Yeah, I like Pittman. I have him in the kind of like 16. I had him. I like him. I like his upside, but that is a run first team. The only thing I really do like and why I have him in my top 20 is because I don't think there's anyone there that is going to steal the targets from him. They got Alex Pierce, which I really like from Cincinnati in the draft.
Yep.
I think that he's an underrated guy. And I don't think we've ever really seen like Paris healthy, but he should be the clear cut number 1 like he was last year. So I think that he returns to form. I think he does very similar to what he did last year. And to your point, it's kind of where I downgrade him to, like, ding him. How many touchdowns is he capable of? Right. He had 6 last year. I don't see it really going. I mean, I think 8 would be a good year for him because they're so run heavy. And if you get in the red zone, they're going to bang it out. So it does kind of worry me. I don't see the yardage exploding with Matt Ryan. I can see him getting to 11, maybe 1,200 yards. So I think that's kind of where he caps out. Great young talent. We'll see where he goes. I hope he does, but you're absolutely right. He did have a huge, he went from 61 targets and 40 catches to 129 and 88. It's pretty darn good. But as you can see, getting above 130 is pretty elite. So are they actually going to give him more than that? I don't see it in that offense.
All right. Let's end it up with number 15 here. It's going to be T. Higgins, your 17th, my 14th. We are slightly below where people have him ranked right now, actually. He's currently 12th in consensus, 12th in ADP. So we're a few spots lower. I don't know. I like T. Higgins, but I feel like he was up top 10 in the ranks a little bit. So he's at least cooled off a little bit. I think he's going to be really good. He's had 2 really good years to start his career, but he's the number 2. And that's my only thing. He's still the number 2. And I think he's a good top 20, top 15 receiver, but not top 10 yet. But he's solid for sure. But he's not underrated anymore, which is disappointing. You like to get him late, He's just properly rated.
He was one that I was a huge fan of last year. Mm-hmm. And I still like him, but he's not a value pick anymore, which was why I loved him last year. But hey, he had 110 targets as the number 2 last year. Could he increase on that? Yeah, probably. And his whole thing is going to be, he is a very tall, athletic wide receiver. If Joe Burrow and that offense go off, there's enough touchdowns to go around. But they do have a really talented. Boyd is still there as number 3. Like there are other people that can really soak up, other targets. And then they also signed Hayden Hurst too. So not saying that he's ever done anything where I should worry about him, but at the same time, I think he's an intriguing guy at the tight end position who's kind of finally hitting that age where you see people like really take off. I know he's an older tight end going in anyway, but all of this to say a lot of mouths to feed, but I think that T. Higgins is relatively safe and he does have a little bit of room depending on what happens on the team. Heaven forbid Jamar Chase gets hurt. The guy would be, kind of a boom candidate. So, I like T. Higgins.
Here's some good numbers for T. Higgins right here. Let's look at the second half of last year, right? Weeks 10 through 18. T. Higgins in points per game this is the points per game list last year to end the season. Cooper Kupp was number 1 in the second half of the year. No, you're not surprised to hear that. Number 2 was Debo. You're not surprised to hear that. Number 3 was Devontae Adams. Again, no surprises. Number 4, Justin Jefferson. No surprise.
So the top 4. Yeah. Okay.
Number 5, T. Higgins.
Yeah.
In points per game and in a big stretch, a second half stretch, 10 weeks, 10 through 18.
What was his touchdowns like in that stretch?
I don't have, let me see.
I was going to say, you don't have that up. I was going to say, I'm wondering if he caught the majority of his touchdowns in the back half.
Yeah. Let me see here. I'll pull up weeks 10 through 18 for you. He had 2, 4. He had 4 touchdowns in that stretch. Okay. He had 6 on the year, right? So 4 of his 6 were in that stretch. So that's pretty good stretch. He was in the last half of the season ahead of Jamar Chase. So Higgins was 5th. Jamar Chase would have been 8th. So, I mean, it's not like Jamar Chase was far down. He was 8th best. The 6th and 7th, if you just want to know. Or no, never mind. I was wrong. Higgins was 6th. I missed one guy. So it's 6th and 9th. Higgins was 6th. Jamar Chase was 9th. 5th, another star at the top, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What up?
Yeah, he was number 5. He might be underrated. We'll find out.
But T. Higgins is he has a ton of talent. So pairing him up with Chase is wonderful. So it's more if they keep throwing it, like, you know, Burrow had a couple games where you're like, can they keep this up? If they did that for a large chunk of the year, both of these guys are going to be, you know, both of them would be wildly underrated.
So here we go. There's our top 15. I'll just list our top 20.
I was going to say there's a couple in there that I raised up and I was like, oh, they're not going to make our top 15 now. But
so DK was our 16th. He's my 16th year, really? 19th. Yeah, he's still there. It's just a lot of uncertainty. If they were to trade for Baker, it might make me feel. I don't know if I feel better. I feel better than I do about Geno and Drew Lock. But
without a doubt. I mean, and I had him 18th. So I don't think I could get 19th. I couldn't get him out of the top 20. Not that I was trying to, but there's so many things that can go wrong for him this year.
Number 17. This is where I could maybe increase and get him up there, but it's Marquis Brown. Your 13th. My 22nd. I don't think I have. I'm not like you just love Marquis. You love your Marquis Brown.
Well, I do. And if you look at the numbers too, and he did get plenty of targets. There wasn't anything like Baltimore was terrible with him. That's not really what it goes, but his numbers per game were when you're in the tens, like 10 points per game, if you're in that range, there's a huge list of people that are right there. And he's going to a better situation. He'll be the number 1 with Kyler, who he's played with before. You know, we like Devontae Adams playing with Carr. It's the same situation, right? But Kyler might be a little more dynamic. So, and he's unbelievably fast. I just really like his progression. And I think that he's finally going to be on a team that can really put that to the test, even though Baltimore, he had a great year last year. I think he had like 130 targets or something. So, but I really think he is one of those guys that is primed to take off. And right now he's being
no Hopkins for 6 weeks of no Hopkins. 6 weeks,
yeah. So, and even last year, I mean, even when he comes back, he's still phenomenal, but it doesn't mean that he's going to be the de facto number 1 if Hollywood, really does well. It could be more of a 1A, 1B situation, which would be great for Kyler, which would be great for the team. And no Christian Kirk to have to fight with or anything like that. He's like locked and loaded as a number 1, number 2.
18th was Jalen Waddle. We both had him 18. I think that's pretty solid right there for Jalen Waddle.
Great talent. Yeah.
Cortland Sutton was 19th. Your 15th. My 24th. A little different. I like Cortland Sutton, but I just don't like him as much as you do. So
and
I have Jerry Judy 1 spot ranked ahead of him.
Okay, I was gonna say, and is going to be the thing. Where's Jerry Judy? So
Jerry Judy though didn't come in till 25th for us actually.
I have him lower because I have Sutton so high. So.
And then 20th for us was DJ Moore. We're a little lower on DJ Moore than the rest. DJ Moore is solid. He's going to be solid, but
once again, he's capped.
He needs to catch touchdowns.
He's capped. I mean, the guy is talented. Once again, he's kind of like Mclaurin for me, where as soon as he gets to put in a position where he can actually put up big numbers, I will be his biggest fan. But right now, no. And I've always been like the last 3 years, I'm just like, no. Like they are not putting him people around him where he can really be that guy.
Right. Well, all right. That'll do it for, I guess, top 20 receivers. It ended up being. We knocked it out the last 5. So top 20 receivers. That'll do it for today. We'll be back with another episode for you guys here soon. Talk to you later.